Hello, everybody. Um, got a bit of news for you guys. So, Moonlight Peaks, the full game has come out. Unfortunately, it's a bit more expensive than I thought it was gonna be. It's like ends up being about like 29 something, and it's on sale. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to get the full game, at least not right away. Um, so, but positive news, if I manage to get myself a job, I should only be able to save up like a little bit, and then I can get it. Both that and Grave Season, which is coming out next month for the Switch. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will happen. But yeah, so we'll still go through the demo. Like the demo lasts like a good bit. It's not the demo does cover quite a bit. Apparently we haven't met everybody will meet in Moonlight Peaks. Like a lot of the characters are in the main part of the game apparently. But like how many? Five, six, seven, maybe? I don't remember for sure, but remind me and I'll count them out the next time I play. Um, but speaking of playing, I'm hoping I probably won't be able to do anything today, but I'm hoping that tomorrow, maybe, or Thursday, or Friday, maybe. Um, Not entirely sure. It's kind of a weird week. It's getting a little hot out there again, and so I currently have two fans going. Um, but also, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about something. Um, just I'm having a bit of a hard time understanding something. So, as I think I've told you guys before, every Sunday Keith and I, get on with my parents. We use FaceTime since I have a Mac computer. So we have FaceTime and we use that and we chat with them a bit. We share any news, whatever, that kind of thing. So here's the weird thing. Usually that goes fine. We chat back and forth, we talk about things, we do stuff, that kind of thing, and then we log off and whatever. So, not a big deal. Well, yesterday, about midday, I get a WhatsApp message from my dad. Keep in mind that my dad's the one who has WhatsApp because apparently my mom can't figure out how to get WhatsApp on her phone, which I don't know. I'm not, I don't know what's going on with that, but as a result, so I communicate with my father most of the time on WhatsApp. But he will not reply to me on WhatsApp. Usually he won't say anything. Like, I just went through my emails, um, because I was looking for a bunch of emails I'd sent my sister around my birthday last year, and I found it kind of interesting that my I just had to make sure. I took a shower earlier and I was locked the door when I go into the shower, and but I had a moment of, did I unlock the door again? Because Keith will be coming through that door in about an hour or so, a little over an hour. Um, but yeah, so so I got this weird message from him saying, can you FaceTime me as soon as possible? And so I was like, yeah, so I was here, so I got my computer down, got all ready to go, got up on FaceTime. And whereas usually mom and dad are very casual, very much, you guys doing okay, but, usually that's where it ends. Well, this time, my dad was leading the discussion, and he was said something about talking to my sister. And keep in mind that my sister and her husband are working with mom and dad to try and figure out, because they, at least from what I assume, my sister wants to either move mom and dad down to where they are, or they all want to move someplace together. And so, there's been mentions like Colorado, there's been mentions of Alabama. Well, Dad came on and he was saying something about how they were talking to Carrie, and she and Todd are, sorry, her husband's name is Todd. And she and her husband are going through some difficulties, apparently. Now, he didn't go into detail about what the difficulties were, and he doesn't have to. I don't need to know about that stuff. That's their business. But then also I have to say that this is not the first time that they've had issues. And like I said, I'm not going to get into their issues. That's their stuff. I don't want to worry about that. I don't need to worry about that. But it's like they have occasionally had, shall we say, hiccups along the road of life. And so, my first thought was, oh no, what now? And like I said, it's been nothing like that. I'm not gonna get into any of the past issues. I don't even know that much anyway. But again, I've heard a little bit here and there in the past, and I've been like, oh, basically keep it real general, like it's about goals not aligning, and her husband wanting to do certain things, and Carrie wanting to do certain things, and that not meshing together and all that. But anyway, like I said, I'm not going to talk about that because it's not my business and I don't need to know. But like the issue is, but apparently, and I'm still trying to figure out like what was said and who said it. And I have a couple of theories, but so basically I get on FaceTime with my parents. My dad is leading the conversation, And he's like, yeah, your sister and her husband are, going through some stuff. And then he immediately jumps over the river, so to speak. There's no bridge or anything. There's no, connecting pieces, if that makes sense. And he's just like, I just want to make sure you're okay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, It's like, we're fine, I mean, and, like, here's the other thing, like, I don't think I'm trying to remember if we've told Mom and Dad. Like, we normally just keep it very light, very surface level, very much, yeah, things are fine, we're doing this, I had to go into town and do this, that kind of thing. And so, my first theory is that my sister said something to Dad to put a bee in his bonnet. And my issue is, why? Because, like I said, that was one of the reasons why I was going through my emails and trying to find back in October of 2025, I had a little block of time where my sister and I emailed back and forth and stuff. Nothing big, just kind of a, hey, I heard this was going on, wanted to offer support and encouragement and whatever. And then she replies back and she's like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, discussing the thing. And then it ended with me asking my sister if she knew Shay's, who is her daughter, who is the child who me and my parents basically helped raise when she was really young and into her teen years and everything. And so, and again, nothing wrong with that. That was awesome. For a while there, I had a great buddy to play Sky with and all that, and, that wasn't a big deal. But, it's a typical thing when you have a small child, and it's like, everyone has to be around her all the time, That's like, as we like to say, only child syndrome, where it's like, I am the only child, y'all need to pay attention to me 100%. Like, what are you doing looking over there? Pay attention to me, Play with me, whatever. And so, matter of fact, I think I've told the story of, because we used to have a Wii Fit back in the day, and I used to get roped into doing exercises on the Wii Fit, and, they have, like, the traditional exercises, but then they also have the fun stuff, like running in place, and your little me is running, and all that. And Shay, from the time she was a baby and was in her bouncy seat, like, we always joked she would run along with me, because I'd be running on the Wii pad, and she'd be in her little bouncy seat, and she'd be going, wing, wing, wing. bouncing up and down and running with Aunt Julie and all that. And so, that was fun and stuff. But, and like I said, there was nothing wrong with that. And Carrie even lived with us for a little while when we were in our last house over in Johnston, Iowa. And so, it was fun. Was definitely interesting. There were some interesting moments there. But so, but like, I don't know. And like I said, I reread the emails that Karen and I sent back and forth last year. And like, I didn't see anything in there that was like, that could have been used as a Julie's not alright. And also, it's been 9 months since then. If Carrie was worried about me, wouldn't she have said something a lot earlier? So, something has happened that I'm unaware of. And so, but yeah, I was confronted all of a sudden with, are you doing okay? Are you alright? And like, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm living life to the best of my ability. And like I said, thankfully I have a husband who works, so I don't have to get the first crappy job that comes across my desk or whatever. Like, I can pick and choose. I can be like, okay, I want to do this rather than this. And kind of thing. And so, like, that was the only thing that I said that I can think of that could be. But again, it's been 9 months. Wouldn't she have said something like before then? And like the whole thing, like it ended with me asking for Shay's email address so that I could email with her, and her saying, oh yeah, I don't even know what it is now. And then that was the last I heard. She never got back to me. I never heard from Shay. Nothing. And again, that's fine. You've got a busy life. I totally understand that. I'm not upset. I'm just, it just would have been nice to have Shay's email address so that I could email her. But whatever. And so now, it's just weird. It's just the whiplash. It's just like, all of a sudden to go from, we're fine, everything's fine, we're good, Carrie and, her husband, we're still working on where to go, they might be coming here to Iowa and all that, and I'm like, because here's the thing, I clearly remember Carrie saying out loud, not to me, but to probably Mom and or Dad, I can't remember who exactly, but I clearly remember her saying that she would probably not come back to Iowa. Because, bad memories, I don't know. Again, I don't know the reasoning behind that. I just clearly remember her saying that. And so I was like, oh, okay, go girl, do what you want, go live where you want, where you know, that's fine. You know, like, I've got no say in that. I don't want any say in that. But again, to go from a Sunday, which, as far as I'm aware, went perfectly fine, went perfectly normal, to all of a sudden midday, FaceTime me right now, you know, it's important, and to be asked if I'm okay. And the only intro to that being given is that I was talking, that Dad was talking to Carrie and her husband, and they're going through difficulties again. And then to go from there to, I just want to make sure you're okay. And it's like, what? Like, I still, and like, I'm probably overthinking it. But again, like, I can't help but wonder, and this is just me overthinking it probably, but I can't help but wonder if Carrie is, because, like I said, this is the first time I've heard of Carrie be willing to move back to Iowa. And so I'm like, wonder if that came up, if Dad was like talking to Carrie and was like, well, if all else fails, you can come to Iowa and live near us and all that. And I wonder if Carrie felt like she didn't want to, but she still feels like she needs to, you know, go and take care of my parents. So I'm wondering if, like, I don't know, like, did she whisper in Dad's ear? Did she say, well, can't you get Julie back? 'Cause she probably would be more equipped to take care of you guys. She has more experience with doing that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if the whole moving back to Iowa thing freaked her out so much that she was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Or if she was like, I don't know. And like I said, I looked at the emails that she and I sent each other last year, and like, I can't find anything in there that in my brain would make her think that, oh, Julie needs to move back home, you know, or Julie needs to move back to Iowa and all that. And as I've told you guys multiple times, I'm not going back to the United States until, you know, my parents die and I have to go home for the funeral. But in that case, I'll be going with Keith, and, you know, we'll go together and we'll handle it as a couple and all that. And so, again, you know, like I said, I'm still just trying to figure it out. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what is bothering Dad. What all of a sudden made Dad go from, this is completely normal conversation we're having, to, are you okay? Do you need to come home? Kind of thing. And so I'm just like, and I've always been kind of a detective. Like, I love Agatha Christie books. I love trying to figure out what who did the crime or whatever and all that. And so I'm just kind of mulling it over and kind of being like, well, that's weird. Why is all of a sudden you are not content? And like, he didn't say, like, Dad didn't say, I want you to come home. Dad didn't say, I don't trust you. But, like, from the little that he said, I'm just wondering if Carrie said something to him that made him think that I need to go, that I need to come home, that I need to come back to Iowa and stuff. And I'm like, but again, I'm just like, I'm like, what would cause that to enter his brain? So, anyway, that's all I kind of wanted to share. I'm kind of trying to figure it out because, like I said, we went from Sunday night where everything seemed to be normal, we were talking like normal, everything was fine, till all of a sudden Monday, call me right now, and like, he didn't say, well, your husband's not home, but kind of the implications was that I know that Julie's alone, because we still have each other on 360. And, whether we should or not, whatever. I don't care, but, I've thought about it. I've thought about just connecting Life 360, but I like having Keith on there because then I can watch. I know pretty much what time he gets off work, what time he gets on the bus, when he gets off the bus, when he goes down to the shopping center and gets food and then walks back up here, But it's also like, I'm home. Like, excuse me. But this is my home. This is where I belong, And like, yeah, I don't have a lot of friends yet. I don't have a lot of, people who I hang out with or anything like that other than D&D every Saturday or Sunday, depending on when we have it. But, like, it just bugs me. Like, I just don't understand the 180 and all of a sudden, are you okay? And also, the other thing that really bugs me. It's like I was talking to, it was both him and Mom. Both him and Mom were on the call, and so we were talking and stuff, and I started telling him about how I'm meeting people, talking to people, how I've kind of inherited his ability to like strike up conversations with people who I didn't know 2 minutes ago, or whatever, and stuff. And then I started talking about how I wanted to meet more people. I wanted to have more friends. I wanted to, and he cut me off right in the middle of that and was like, I don't remember what he said. Something about, oh, that's not important or whatever. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And I'm like, and I didn't ask, and I probably should have at the time, but I wanted, I just want to know where this is coming from. Because, like I've said, we went from having a perfectly normal conversation on Sunday to all of a sudden Monday midday, for me at least, it was like, get on FaceTime, we need to talk to you, and are you okay? And it's like, and the only lead up to that was we were talking to your sister, and your sister and her husband are having problems. And it's like, what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with me and Keith? Because we're doing fine, as far as I'm aware. Like, Keith he doesn't talk a whole lot. He doesn't say, I'm getting him to open up a little bit more, which is kind of cool, but like, he doesn't, he's not, he's not one of those romantic language people. He's not one of those people who's like, oh, you're so beautiful, I love you so much, out of the blue. But like yesterday, I asked him when he got home. I asked him for a hug, and he, the full bear hug, arms wrapped around each other kind of thing. And like, we have the little Han Solo Princess Leia thing where it's like, where I'll say I love you and he'll say I know, and that's, just like in the Star Wars movies, like that's his way of saying I love you too, and sometimes he'll say I love you too. So it's not like he's more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not more shy, maybe? I don't know. Like, he doesn't act shy. He just is very much, like, a lot of times, and I know I mentioned this before, but like, a lot of times, he'll be sitting on the couch, I'll be sitting here, and we'll be doing our own things. I'll be playing Stardew Valley or whatever game I'm playing at the time, and he'll be over there watching, like, recently he watches like a lot of Naruto and stuff like that, and like, I think that's kind of cool. Makes me want to look up and see if the old Sailor Moon cartoons are around anywhere, because I remember I used to like that show back when I was a wee little Julie. And so, but yeah, so, like, again, it just bugs me. I'm wondering what was said between Carrie and Dad, and I'm assuming Mom was in there somewhere, because they usually have that time where they talk to Carrie and whoever else is around, whether it's her husband, whether it's Shay, whether it's the other two girls, whatever, you know. It's like they are definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they are definitely, I don't know, I just lost what I was thinking out of my head, but, so, I don't know. Like, to me, I'm just finding it weird that Dad leads with your sister and her husband are having problems, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. It's like, what the heck? Like, what happened? Like, my personal theory as of this moment is that either Carrie said something to Dad, or Dad said something to Carrie, which made Carrie fire back with, well, what about Julie? She's not, she's over there, she doesn't move, she's by herself all the time, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I do spend a lot of time indoors on my computer, or I'm bustling around the flat and taking care of stuff. Like, I'll collect the trash, take it down to the bins, I'll put the spread back on the duvet, back on the bed, because it usually gets rumpled. Sometimes I'll go on and stand out on the balcony and look around at things. Sometimes I'll go out, but I haven't yet gone out this week. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's literally absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm just starting to feel like Dad especially is trying to control me again and trying to get me to do what he wants me to do, which was always the thing, because well, let me put it this way. I'm doing a thread right now on the Marvel forums where one of my OC characters who runs a New Age type witchy supplies type shop, she's met Agatha from Agatha All Along and Down the Witch's Road and all that, and we had an interesting thing where we went on the Witch's Road. My Ireland is my character is with Agatha, and we first get to see something from Agatha's past, and we talk about it a little bit, and then Ireland sees something from her past, and she realizes through her power, and her power is to detect other people's powers, but it's in kind of a unique kind of way, twisty way, but she finds out that her dad has power, and the person who plays Agatha Harkness, in the thread, said something that to this day still sticks with me. Like, she said that, I don't think your dad ever hated you. I think he saw you as being brave enough to be something he couldn't be. And that describes me and my dad, basically. Because I've always been told I'm so much like my dad, and I've always been told I'm so much, you know, I'm like my dad's daughter and all that, and, you know, as a result, it made me fearful in some ways because I saw ways that he would react which scared me, and so I would be like, I do not want to be like that at all. Like, for example, he would get really bad road rage for a while in there. And it got to the point where I didn't want to get in a car with him because he would get so angry at other drivers. And so, you know, just imagine the little TikToks that show up of like people being Karens and people spitting at cars and people blocking cars in, and that was my dad there for a while. And like, I think he's gotten better at it. I never really rode with him that much uh, later in life and all that, but like, I remember being scared of turning out the way he did. And I think in a lot of ways he was scared that I would turn out the way that he did, because there were a few times I remember he would talk to me and he would be like, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made and all that. Also, keep in mind I was in my 50s when we would have these conversations. And it's like, I'm so tempted to say, little late dad, you know, considering how I got into that and had to file bankruptcy myself and all that, and which, like, that was fine. That was almost a bit anticlimactic because I went and worked with a gal. I don't remember her name now, but she was awesome. And she helped me out. She actually helped me go to court. But, like, the really cool thing is that because I was going up against, because for some reason I had to go to court against this massive credit card company, nobody ever showed up. So it was like I showed up, I said like one or two things, and then the judge just dismissed my debt. I'm just like, you're fine, you know, go live your life, and stuff. And so I was very thankful about that. But yeah, there were a lot of times where, like, I did not get along well at all with my dad, and I think a lot of it was because my dad and I were and are in some cases very similar to each other in personality and all that. And so, as a result, Dad got this idea in his brain that I needed to be like, I don't know if he wanted me to be as opposite him as possible, but I just remember him saying, I don't want you to make mistakes I did. So he used to think he could talk to me about mistakes that he thought that I was making in my life. And, you know, and, you know, whether or not those concerns were valid or whether they were just like he put a lot of his mistakes and his trauma on me. And it was like, you'll be the one to, do better than me. And so when, in his opinion, I wasn't doing what would make me better than him, he got worried, he would get upset, he would get angry, and all that. And I'm not going to talk about that. Number one, because I have talked about it before. And number two, because, I don't want to drag business in. Like, we've talked about this before. And I'm now, or at least I thought we were past that. I thought we were at the point where he at least accepted that I was living my life to the best of my ability. And then all of a sudden yesterday happened, and I'm like, part of me is like, you can't control me anymore. It's like the end of Labyrinth, where Sarah is like, finally remembers the line and banishes Jareth and says, you have no power over me. And it's like, that's it. You have no power over me anymore. You can't tell me what to do. I mean, you can. You can tell me what to do, but I don't have to follow it because I'm not living under your roof anymore. I'm in my own home. I am, like Keith and I, the thing is, Keith and I are more partners than anything else. We're not husband and wife. I'm not below him or anything like that. We're more together. Sometimes we gotta figure out how to mesh with each other and stuff, but other than that, we're more partners than anything else. And Keith has outright said that at certain points, that we're equal in our relationship and all that. And I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm still figuring out what to do with the rest of my life, Do I want to get a job? Do I want to focus on YouTube? Do I want to do my best to get my channel monetized? Do I want to... And what's that going to look like, Am I going to have members? Or am I going to simply wait until... and see if I get enough to where I can start playing ads on my videos? And what's that going to look like? Am I going to eventually have sponsors? Am I going to, And again, a lot of that stuff, I still don't know half of how this is gonna work and all that. And that's okay. That's all a part of life. I'm trying to figure that out. Trying to figure out what I want to do. What can I do? Is anybody gonna hire me? That kind of thing. And so we're working through it, and stuff. And, I have a pretty good life, I think. I think both Keith and I have a pretty good life. Could it be better? Absolutely. But could it be worse? Absolutely. We're doing well, I think, I think we're doing well. I think we're doing pretty darn good. Which, like I said, it's just why it surprised me so much when Dad was like, because Carrie and her husband are having problems, I want to make sure you're okay. It's like, this coming out of left field. What is going on? Like, did Carrie say something to, to Dad to make him think that it was, or, did the normal conversation not go as normally as I thought it did? Like, I don't know. Like, I do not know. But anyway, so I'm trying to do my best to just let it go. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. And, let me know what you guys think in the comments if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to, let me know in the comments what you think could have set this off. Because that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I'm trying to figure out what the heck caused my dad to go from everything's fine, you guys doing great, to we want to make sure you're okay. And that's after talking to my sister. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't even know what my sister could have said to my parents to make Dad go, oh my gosh, I gotta make sure Julie's okay, kind of thing. Which, like I said, my current number one theory is that Carrie said something hoping that maybe Keith and I would move back to Iowa and that we would take over caring for Mom and Dad. But again, I haven't heard one single thing about that. Like, Carrie's never reached out to me about that. She never said one word to me. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I'm hoping that, once, that getting it all out on video like this, I'm hoping that will help. And that I can maybe even look back at it a little bit later on and be like, oh, that was the problem. That was what had happened or whatever. And again, like I said, I don't know. As right now, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what beads in Dad's bonnet. Absolutely no clue. But like I said, I will keep you guys updated if I find out more. But yeah, I just wanted to get this out a little bit and be like, I don't know, just get it on record, so to speak, have it on video form so I can look back at it maybe once I get a bit more information, then I can find out, oh, okay, that's why that happened or whatever. Or maybe I'll never know. Maybe I'll be kept in the dark. I don't know. But in the meantime, like I said, keep an eye open tomorrow or Thursday or Friday, sometime this week. I'll upload another portion of the demo, and I will let you guys know when I'm able to get either the full game of Moonlight Peaks and or the game Grave Seasons when it comes out in August. So in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.